based on that little video, let's take a look at this. We have 2x minus 10 less or equal to 6 plus distributed property 2x plus 12. Here we have 2x minus 10. On the left side, I'm going to combine some terms. This is a 6. We get 2x plus 12. Now, stop for a second and imagine what's happening. Look at the expression on the left. We're multiplying some number by 2 and then subtracting 10. On the right side, I'm multiplying that same number by 2, but I'm adding 12. So what does that tell you? Well, let's pick 10. Let's take x equals 10. If I do x equals 10, I get 2 times 10 minus 10. On the left side, I get 2 times 10, but I add 12. Here I get 20 minus 10, which is 10. On the right side, I get 20 plus 12, which is 32. The left side is less or equal than 32. It works. Pick another value. Oops. Pick another value for x. Well, it will always be true because on here, I'm subtracting 10. Here, I'm adding 12. So no matter what you pick for x and plug it in here, right, it will always be true. So let me continue this. The next step here would be to subtract variables from both sides. The 2x goes away, that goes away. I'm left with negative 10 less or equal to 12. Is that a true statement? Yes, it is, right? And we don't have to do that, but just looking at this step, we knew that the left side will always be less than the right side, always. So for this particular problem, when you got to this part, it meant that x can be all real numbers, right? Doesn't matter what you plug in here, the left side will always be left than the right side. Okay, let's do this one. Let's see. I don't remember this one too much. First of all, it's going to be negative. 12 divided by 3 is 4 times 2. We got negative 8x plus 6 divided by 3 is 2 times 2 is 4 less or equal to 5x minus 9. We have variables on both sides, so let's add 8x to both sides. That goes away. I'm left with 4 less than 13x minus 9. I'm going to add 9 here. I'm going to add 9. And I get 13 less or equal to 13x. Now let me bring that over here. Okay, 13 less or equal to 13x. I'm going to divide both sides by 13. And it says that 1 is less or equal to x. Now, if I were to graph this, right? Here's 1, here's 2, here's 0. That says 1 is smaller than any of these numbers. So first of all, we shade. And if you don't know which way to pick a value. Pick a large value. Pick 100 and plug it in here. You get 1 less or equal to 100. Does that work? Yes, it does. So that means, and where's 100? 100 is on the right side of 1. So every single number, including 1, and to the right, if I plug it in here, makes my inequality true. Notice that this, by the way, right, is the solution to this particular inequality. Okay. All right. Bottom two, you're going to need it, especially when we do absolute values, inequalities with absolute values. So this one, this is telling me that x, or whatever value, right, our number is a number that starts at -3 and it goes to 3, but it doesn't include 3. So how do I write that as an inequality? Well, let me call the number x, or whatever letter you used. X is going to be less than 3, right? But it's going to be greater or equal to -2. And this represents that. It's an and. Negative x is less or equal to 3 and is greater or equal to 2 but less than 3. Now this one's a little bit different. It's called or. Well, x is going to be less than 1, or x is going to be greater than 4. It's not and. Okay, or you're smaller than 1, or you're greater than 4. All right, let's go. The age of the tree is at least 70 years old, so I'm going to use t for my variable. So it's going to be greater or equal to 70. Number 2, the rent's no less than 400. So the rent's no less than 400 means that the rent is 400 or more. So my rent is greater or equal to 400. The price of the book is at most 10.95. Can the price of the book be 10.96? No, it can't. So the price of the book is going to be less or equal to 10.95. Her time in the 5K race was no more than 40 minutes. So her time was less or equal to 40 minutes. And the last one, you must be more than 40 inches tall to ride the Ferris wheel. So your height, let me use H for height. Your height has to be greater than 40, not equal, because if you're exactly 40 inches, you can't go on the Ferris wheel. So you have to be greater than 40. So all that is the statement. Yellow taxi, just to get into the taxi, just by sitting in the taxi. And that's truly how it works. I forget what the rate is nowadays, but it's going to be $2.75. So you're guaranteed, once you hop into that cab, to pay $2.75. Let's say you got in the cab, right? You got into the taxi, right? And here is where you got on, and you drive 1 block, literally 1 block, and I'm not exaggerating here. And you said, oops, I want to get off, right? So he's going to charge you $2.75 plus every additional mile. Okay, so guaranteed $2.75 plus 0.65 times M. And then in this case, we want Emma has no more than 14, so she can't spend. So wherever she's going, it has to be under $14. The total has to be under 14 or even greater than equal to 14. Solve, and then tell me how many miles can she drive, right? So subtract 275 to each side, etc. Here we have a rectangle, so I highly suggest you draw one up. So we have a rectangle, and the length here is 4 more than the width, and this is the width. So it says here the perimeter is no more than 28, so the perimeter has to be less or equal to 28. And how do we calculate perimeter? Is this, well, let me add on that this is also 4 plus W, and this is W. So if I add all these sides together, it can't be more than 28. So the inequality here would be, and again, I just write it the long way, it would be this plus this. If I add both width plus the length, but both length, if I add all the sides, it has to be less or equal to 28. Let me just shorten that. Combine like terms. We have 4W plus 8 less or equal to 28. Right, and then you solve and you find W, and you can get the area for the rectangle. So you know what? I'll actually do this. Minus 8, we get 4W less or equal to 20. Divide both by 4. W is less or equal to 5. So W, which is now 5, it could be 5, it could be 4, it could be 3, it could be, so any number 5 or less. So let me just graph the answer solution to the problem. So here's 5, here's 6, and here's 4. So it can be 5 or less. So if I graph that, so if I did my rectangle, this can be 5, this can be 5, and this is going to be 9, and this is going to be 9. 5 plus 5 is 10, 9 and 9 is 18. If you add them up, you get 28. So does 5 work? Yeah. And you notice that any number under that will work too. So if I plug in 6, it's just not going to work. It's going to be more than 28. Two consecutive integers, well, x. The second one is x plus 1. It has to be less than 55. Find a pair of integers with the greatest sum. So we get 2x plus 1 less than 55, minus 1, minus 1. We get 2x less than 54, and x is less than 27. So x has to be less than 27. So the first integer can't be 27, so it ends up being 26. And the second integer ends up being 27. So if I add this, 26 plus 27, I get less than 55. What if I use 27? Well, if you use 27, your first integer is 27, and the second one is 28. If you add those two, is it less than 55? No, it's not a true statement. So the pair of integers with the greatest sum would be 26 and 27. Four. Again, two consecutive integers, even integers, so x plus 2. And it says at most 400, so it has to be less or equal to 400. 2x plus 2 less or equal to 400. We're going to divide both sides by, subtract 2 from each side. And we get 2x less or equal to 398. And we're going to divide both sides by 2. Oops. Divide this by 2, divide this by 2. X has to be less or equal to 398 divided by 2 has to be 199. So let's say the first even number is 199. The second even number would be less than 199. So let's, oops, where's my pen? Where's my pen? Sorry. Oh no, okay, here. Now, it says even number. So what's the highest, what's the greatest even number that I can use under 199? So solution to this problem, 199, 200, 198. So we're looking, so it has to be any even number that is less than 199. And the highest even number that is less than 199 is 198. So it's 198. And what's the next integer? The even integer is 200. And if you add these two up, do you get an answer that's less than 400? Yes, you do. Okay. Can you use 200? You can't. Because if you use 200, the next even integer would be 202. And if you add those two, it is going to be greater than 400. So that's not what you want. Three consecutive odd integers, x plus 1, is x plus 2. No less than 51. So it has to be greater or equal than 51. So now we can combine like terms. We get 3x plus 3 is greater or equal to 51. Minus 3 on both sides. We get 3x is greater or equal to 48. Divide by 3, divided by 3, and x is greater or equal to 16. Odd integer, so what's the first? What is the first odd integer? So although your solution is any number greater than 16, right? Here's 16, here's 17, here's 15. We can't use 16 because it's not a non-integer. So the first one is 17, so we're going to have 17, 18, and 19. Okay, and if you add those up, it's really not going to be less than 51, but it's going to be, what is it, 54? Okay. 6, two consecutive integers, right? So x, so this one I'll actually do x, and then the second one is x plus 1, such that 7 times the smaller, so 7 times x, is less than 6 times the greater. And there's my inequality. So 7x less than 6x plus 6. We have variables on both sides, so let's get rid of the 6x. So let's do minus 6x, minus 6x. Here we get x, and then this goes away, less than 6. So it has to be, the first integer has to be a number less than 6, and the first integer less than 6 is 5, which makes this guy 5. it makes this guy 6. There are my 2. What are the greatest two integers? 5 and 6. Okay. There are 3 exams given in the marking period. Ryan received 85 on the first, 91 on the second one. What grade must he earn on the last exam in order to get an average of no less than 90? So remember, to find the average, we add all the 3 tests divided by 3, and it has to be greater than 90. That's what he wants. So I'm adding the first test plus the second test plus x, which is the third test. I'm going to divide this by 3, right? Because that's how you find average. And you want this average to be greater or equal to 90, right? So, and that's going to give us our answer. Now, what's the next step here? We can cross multiply, or we can, like I said, we can clear the denominator, however you want to think of it. So if I clear the denominator, multiply this by 3 and multiply this by 3, which is the same thing as cross multiplying. This goes away, and I'm left with 85. Let me combine my terms, sorry. I'm left with 85 plus 91, which is 176. So I'm left with 176 plus x greater or equal to 270. We're going to subtract 176, and this goes away. X equals 270 minus 176 is going to be 94. So if Ryan over here wants to get an average on his report card that is greater than 90, on his last test here, he has to get 94 and higher for it to average it. Be greater than 90 or equal to 90. 8. The length of a rectangle. So we again draw it out. The length is 5 less than twice the width. So here's my width. They don't talk about it, so this is width. 5 less than twice the width is 2w minus 5, right? Because it's a turnaround, right? Now, if the perimeter of the rectangle is no more than 70, so again, if you add all these 4 sides, it can't be greater than 7, no more than 70, so it has to be less than 70 or equal 70. So however you want to write this, 2w minus 5 plus w plus w plus 2w minus 5, right? We're adding all the sides because that's what perimeter is. Combine like term, we get 2w plus w plus w plus w, we get 6w minus 10 less or equal to 70. And then we have 2, 4, 5, 6 minus 10. And then we're going to do plus 10 here, and 6w less or equal to 80. And divide by 6. So the width, let me divide 80 by 6. Hopefully we get a nice pretty number, and we don't. 13.333, 13 1/3. So the width of this rectangle can be up to 13 1/3. So if we can put it over here, put the width 13 1/3, and over here we're going to do 2 times 13 1/3 minus 5. Let's see, 26 2/3 minus 5, which makes the length 21 2/3. So that's going to be 21 2/3. This one's going to be 21 2/3. Doesn't say anything about being integers, so that's okay. So now let's add all these. We get 21 plus 21, which is 42. 42 plus 26 is 68, and then we have 2/3 and 2/3, right? Plus the 1/3 and plus 1/3, which is equal to 2. So 68 plus 2, we get 7. So adding this up, we get exactly a perimeter of 7. Okay. The length of a rectangle. Okay, so I'm getting another rectangle. Some nice rectangle problems. The length is 4 more than 3 times the width. 4 more than 3 times the width, which means that width is just the width. The perimeter is more than 56. So now if I add these, right? So if I get 4 plus 3w plus the other 4 plus 3w plus a 2 width, which you can write 2w, right? I'm just writing this out. And this has to be greater than 56. What's the minimum? Well, if I combine like terms, I get 3w, 6w, 7w, 8w. So we got 8w plus 8 greater than 56. Yeah. Subtract 8, you get 8w greater than 48. And I divide by 8, So the width has to be a number greater than 6. Not allowing for fractional side measure. So it says here, right, so we can't use, although the answer to this, right, as long as the width is greater than 6, let me draw this. Right, so that's the answer. So we could pick 7, 8, 9, but we can't pick 6.1, 6.2, 6.3 because it says no fractional side measure. So the smallest rectangle we can make out of this so that it's greater than 56 would be when w equals 7. Okay, so if that's 7, this guy's 7, and I'll write 7 over here. This would be 4 plus 3 times 7. 3 times 7 is 21, plus 4 25, which makes this guy 25, and again this would be 25. And if you add these, you get 25 plus 25, which is 50, plus the 2 sevens, right? 50 plus 7, we get 54. So this is, oops, sorry. Ooh, it has to be greater than 56. What did I do wrong? 3 times 7 is 21. 21, 3 times 7 is 21 plus 4. Did I add something wrong here? 3w, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then minus 8, 48, 6. W has to be greater, so that pick 7. Something's not right. 1 second. No, I'm good here. My check is okay, so I'm doing something wrong here. 3w, ww, 21, 21, 42. Plus a 7, which is 14. So 42 and 14 is 56. And then plus 4, So that works. What am I doing wrong here? Sorry. 3 times 20, 21, 42. Weird. Hang on a second, guys. So it picks W. So if I pick W is greater than 6, which is 7, right? Because I don't want any fractional value, so I'm going to pick 7. Well, why can't I do this? Sorry. We get 4 plus 3W, right? That's one side, plus 4 plus 3W, which is the other side, plus W, and I'm picking 7 for W, so 4 plus 3 times 7, plus 4 plus 3 times 7, plus 7, plus 7. So 3 times 7 is 21, plus 4, I get 25. Oh, there's nothing wrong, I just can't add. So if I replace this with 7, and then add 4, I get 21 plus 4, which is 25, which means this side is 25. This is 7, and this is 7. I get 25 plus 25 plus both 7s, which is 14. And I get 64. Everything was okay. So notice that at 7, the perimeter is greater than 56. Okay? We did the first one, so I'm going to go straight to this one. What's the inequality here? Plans to buy a car 2 years from now. He's already has, so he has $400 saved. And we want to know how much does he need to save per month over the next 2 years if the least expensive car he wants to buy is $4,000. So whatever he's saving has to be greater or equal to 4,000. So he already has 400, plus he's going to save a certain amount per month. And how many months does he have? Well, 2 years. We're going to go 24. And you guys can solve this and figure it out. These are definitely less challenging than the first that we did here. Now, this one was a tricky one. You're going on a 4-day vacation, right? It's 25 days, $25 per day, and then plus 15 cents a mile. How far can you drive if you can only spend $350? So only spend $350 means that whatever you're spending here has to be less than $350. So what are we spending? Well, 4-day vacation, every day is 25, so you're guaranteed to be spending $100 plus 15 cents per mile. So you're going to do minus 100. I'll just might as well do it. Minus 100, minus 100, right? 0.15 times m less than 250. It makes sense, right? Because you have 350 that you're going to spend. You got to take 100 because that goes just for the car, rental of the car, and now you have left over 250. And if you divide both sides by 0.15, m equals has to be less. The number of miles that you have to drive has to be less than 250 divided by 0.15. This one gives you a fractional value, 1,666 and 2/3 of a mile. As long as you drive less than that, you're good. Okay. Matthew charged $59 per tutor, so just by showing up to your door, he's going to get paid $59. Plus, he's going to charge $30 for every extra child. Let's say you have, I don't know, a big family. Right? So Kate has 8 kids, but you can't tutor everybody. Well, maybe we can. But whatever the total is, the total has to be less or equal than 125. We're going to do minus 59. That goes away. 30C, with 30 per child, less or equal to 125 minus 59, which is 66. We're going to divide both sides by 30. And the number of childs extra that the tutor can tutor, 66 divided by 30, gives you 2.2. Well, you can't tutor 2.2 of a child, so the tutor here will the extra number of children that he can tutor is obviously the greatest amount of children that he can tutor after the first one. It has to be 2 or less. Okay. For these ones, I'm definitely going to take the shortcut here. I think the video is long enough for you guys. Tommy wants to mow lawns and clean pools. He earns $20 per lawn and $9 per pool. He needs $1,500 to buy a car. He's going to mow 41 lawns. So we know how many lawns he's going to mow. So 41 times 20. So just on the lawns, he's going to make $820 plus $9 per pool, or 9p. Okay, and all that has to be at least greater than 1,500 or even equal to 1,500, because that's going to give you the necessary amount of money. Now, let me just do this because this one you might have a fractional value. So minus 820 on both sides. 9p has to be greater or equal to 1,500 minus 820, so that's going to give us 680. Divide by 9, p is greater or equal to 680. Divided by 9 is equal to 75.5. Now, in order to get that car he wants, he needs to mow 41 lawns. He already knows that. And he has to, clean 75.55 pools. Well, he can't clean 75.55, right? And if he only cleans 75, he's not going to have enough money. So the answer to the question, the number of pools he has to clean has to be greater or equal to 76. Okay, so you really have to pay attention to the context of the story. Ninth grade class, they need to raise at least 1,500. So right off the bat, I know that whatever they're doing has to be greater than 1,500 or equal. They're selling magazines at $7 each. How many subscriptions? Well, 7 times X. I hate S, right? So this. Again, will this give you a fractional value? Well, let's divide this by 7. So the number of subscriptions that they need, 1,500 divided by 7, is 214.29 rounded. Well, you can't have 214.29 subscriptions, so X, the number of subscriptions that they need to sign in order to reach their goal, has to be 215 or higher. Joey can spend no more than 28 on MP3 downloads. I don't even know if you guys know what an MP3 is, so this just stands for songs that formatting, the type of song format that we use to download. So has to be no more than 28, which means has to be less or equal to 28. Each song is $1.29 and costs $9.99 to download the entire album. Joey wants to download the newest Luke Bryan album. How many individual songs? So we know Joey's going to spend $9.99 to download an album, plus some songs after it, and each song is $1.29 times X. Again, subtract. I'll just do it. Subtract $9.99 from both sides. We get 1.29x. We're going to get 18.01. We're going to divide both sides by 129. So the number of downloads has to be less or equal to, well, it says here she can download 13.96 songs. Well, you can't download 13.96 songs, so the highest number of songs you can download, obviously in this case, is 13. So I guess every question has a fractional value here. Ugh, yuck. 4. Susie wants to go on a class trip to New York City. Why? She earns $8 babysitting. $8 per hour babysitting. $8 per hour. How many hours does she need in order to raise at least 500? Okay. At least 500 is greater or equal to 500. Divide by 8. Divide by 8. The number of hours. 500 divided by 8 is 62.5. Can you babysit in half an hour? I guess you can, but let's just keep this, I guess, by the hour. So the answer to this would be 63 and above, right? If you can't babysit, I guess you can, right? Hey, can you come over and babysit for half an hour? I'm not too sure. But if not, it's the bottom one. Okay, and you can graph that later. Sam has $2,450 in the bank account. He spends $20 each. After how many weeks will the accounts fall below 1,000? So I have this much. Every week, I'm going to take 20 minus $20 per week. And I want to know, when will this be less than 1,000? When is this going to be less? How many weeks have to pass for this to be less than 1,000? Well, minus 2450. Minus 2450. We get negative 20W less than negative 1450. Divide by 20. Divide by negative 20 on both sides. Because I divided by a negative number, I'm going to switch the sign to the other sign. And we get 1450 divided by 20, 72.5. We're not going to count to half weeks, so the number of weeks that has to pass is going to be greater than 72, which is going to be, the answer to this is going to be 73 weeks. Okay. 6. You have at most $100 to spend, which means whatever you're doing here has to be less or equal to 100. Computer paper. Ugh. One box of paper is $24.99. You wish. That is not even close to the actual price. And how many ink cartridges can you afford? So you're spending $24.99 and $19.99 per cartridge. So all this that you're spending has to be less or equal to 100. minus 24.99, minus 24.99. So 100 minus 24.99. So we get 19.99 C has to be less or equal to 75.01. When we divide both sides by 19.99. C, the number of cartridges, has to be less or equal to 3.75. So can I buy 3.75 cartridges? No. So the number of cartridges that I can buy has to be 3 or lower. And that's the answer to your question. 7. Jim and Joyce, they're going to Hawaii. Plane ticket is that they saved. So, okay, they saved this much. Plus, they're saving $55 per week. That's what it is. After how many weeks will it take to save at least? So at least means it has to be greater or even equal to 2,419. So minus 1804, minus 1804. And that's going to, so 55W is greater or equal to 614. We're going to divide by 55, divide by 55. W has to be greater or equal to 11.16, that's what you would graph, but in the context of this story, how many weeks have to pass? You can't do 11.16 of a week, so it has to be 12 weeks. So the answer to the question, how many weeks of saving? It will be 12 weeks of saving. Last one. No, it's not the last one because I still didn't do the other ones. Sally has at most $30 to spend, which means it has to be less or equal to 30. There are two types of plants. Impatiens cost $2 each and coneflowers $3 each. She wants to buy 8 impatiens. So 8 impatiens at $2 each, so that means that's $16. How many coneflowers? Well, 3 times C. C representing the number of coneflowers. Minus 16. Minus 16, so that makes sense, right? 3C less or equal to 14. Divide that by 3, divide that by 3. So the number of coneflowers, 14 divided by 3 is 4.6666. Although that's the answer numerically, right? So she can buy 4.66 coneflowers or less because you can't do that. So the greatest number of coneflowers that she can buy is 4 or less. 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Okay. How many coneflowers can she buy? So the maximum she can buy is 4. And you can write that down. Okay. All right, I think I'm done with this particular section.